Well, we have an exciting pay-per-view around the corner, or is it exciting? Dana White says it is. This is a graphic from the Mac Life. Dana White, this card is so badass. The BMF card is
Yeah.
officially finalized. This is going to be fun in New Orleans. Dana White really trying to push the narrative here. Luke, we've done this millions times before. Give me a rating for this card. I mean, I don't have the prelims or the early prelims here, but I've had people call me being like, who the hell is this guy? And Michael Johnson's on the main card, and you can't be serious. I've had some funny reactions.
So leave this graphic up for just a minute, and then I'll give you an answer. Like, obviously, the main event, I don't have any complaints about, to be perfectly honest with you. I actually like that one a lot. I actually think the co-main event, whether it's a suitable co-main event, is a different conversation. But as a fight, Costa versus, I mean, Kopylov is not going to let Costa rest. He's not going to let. He's going to bring the hammer down. And of course, you know, we've seen Costa be able to return it, but that one's going to be fun. As long as it lasts anyway. Kevin Holland versus D-Rod. Cool. I'm cool with it. Dan Ige versus Pitbull. I don't know really what to make of it, but I don't hate it. And then Johnson versus Zellhuber, at a bare minimum, is going to be a slobber knocker, right? At a bare minimum, that's going to be a slobber knocker. So, like, it really depends how you want to look at this. If you want to look at that and say, let's all just posit that the main event is great. But if you want to look at the other fights and say, hey, is there something of value here? Could these fights deliver in some kind of way that's interesting? There's a little bit to like there. However, put it up one more time. Put it up one more time. Take away the main event. Okay. And even you could say it with it. Who's a star on that card? Who has any juice as a star on that card? And I'm talking like beyond the MMA bubble, which is what you're considering. Who is somebody who you could pinpoint outside of the main event that you would look at and say future champion? Who is somebody who is doing something special in the sport, like, you know, Josh Van just surging or something like that, right? I have total respect for Pitbull with greatest fighter in Bellator history. Dan Ige is the man, obviously, like we know it, but we've kind of seen where he is sort of, you know, topped out at, and the rest sort of speak for themselves. Like, it's missing all of the things that make a pay-per-view special in the way that just the mechanical fight itself cannot. MMA is about, and fight sports more broadly are about great fights, for sure. I mean, if you don't have that, you forget the rest of it. But the magic of fight sports is that plus drama, plus aura, plus star power, plus rivalry, plus something that elevates the whole thing. This, to me, the way I would explain this is, it's like, I don't know, it's like getting some kind of delicious food and you know the ingredients are high quality, but there's like no sauce on it. You know what I mean? Like there's very little flavor. You didn't put salt, you didn't put the hot sauce or whatever. Like it's like going to Chipotle and ordering nothing that has fat in it that actually brings it all together. I don't know if you guys have. Do you guys have Chipotle in Australia? You must,
We don't
right?
have it. No Chipotle, no.
No?
Oh, the sauce. We got the sauce Chipotle, yeah.
Okay, more or less. You get the idea. The point I'm trying to make is the thing that brings it together. They're the pieces that make it memorable. It just doesn't have that. And so I don't want to like demean the fighters who I think will actually make some decent fights, but it tastes dry.
Kevin Holland, by the way, having to bail out the UFC by having to fight like all the time just to make these cards kind of exciting for the fans. But yeah, like a fight night card on a couple of cycles of steroids, maybe, is what people like. All right, like it's like, hey, there's a fight night card to put a little bit of muscle on.
The reality is this, guys, and there's just no two ways around it. The product cannot get better with more events. It just can't. It cannot. It's just not possible unless they were able to like spark a revolution where like where the number of events are exploding and then they can pull in more talent. But certainly with the amount of events declining overall numerically, there is just no I'm talking globally, not UFC. There's just no possible way to make it better but to shave off some, and they don't want to do that because that would interfere with the way that their business works and how they make money. But it's just where we're at.
By the way, Kevin Holland last fought Vicente Luque, UFC 316, beat him June 7th. Before that, fought Gunnar Nelson, won a decision March 22nd. Now he's back again, having another crack. And before that, he already fought January 18th, my birthday, against RDR. aged well. RDR, a good fighter. But Luke, going back to this main event, Max Holloway for Dustin Porieir as the retirement fight. You happy with this? Is this a good retirement fight in your opinion for Dustin Porieir?
I know some people don't like it. I actually kind of like it. There's always other fights you could have made, and I don't know. There's ways you could have done this that were different. I think some people, Dustin himself said he maybe would have wanted a title shot or something like that. But I like this fight. The first one, Dustin won. Second one, Dustin won, but it's a very different fight than the first. I think you're going to get a different fight in the third, which isn't to say Dustin won't win, but I went back and I watched that fight recently, and I just can't believe how different both guys look, especially Max. Max was 27. And if you look at his body at that weight, now remember, you're like, oh, well, he had gone to 55 against Gaethje. What's the difference? I talked to Max's old manager about this. And what they did was they just, for the second Poirier fight, all that they did was like, hey, we're going to just cut less weight and, we'll, eat a little bit more and we'll just do that. Like they didn't have a very scientific process for bulking up and getting to a size in terms of the appropriate mass to compete at that weight class. They just kind of like, oh, we'll just do what we do at 45, but less of it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And you can see physically, he doesn't have abs in that fight. Like he just doesn't look quite right. And also, if you just look at his skill set since then, I mean, I think by fight time, they'll be 33 and Dustin will be 36. But the skill set that Max has now is vastly more advanced. And I know it's crazy to say because we think of peak Max as the guy who was, right around that time, featherweight champion and fighting Volk and blah, blah, blah. And I guess in some sense, in terms of his career arc, that was the best days of his career in a sense. But if you just look at his skill set now, it's much better. Meanwhile, Dustin has refused to go away quietly, right? Where he gave Islam tougher fight than I think a lot of people imagined. And I had written him off ahead of the BSD fight, which now is a take that aged quite poorly. But but to his credit, like, he stomped him out too. And so Dustin's resiliency has been quite amazing. So like, to me, here's my prediction. I actually think this will be the most competitive and the most interesting fight of the three. Because some people will tell you, yeah, the second fight was good, but Dustin basically dominated with punching power. Max had these spirited bursts where he pushed back, which is true. But I don't think there are questions obviously after the Ilia knockout about that. But I think Max has got a little something for him this time. And, I like seeing two legendary heroes go at it. Now, again, your mileage may vary on this one, but you're asking me, do I like this fight? Yeah, I like this fight. I do think it's a great fight.
You know what the crazy thing is? These guys are basically fighting each other every 6 years. 143, UFC 143, 2012, that's the one where he loses to Dustin Porieir. Then they fight again each other, this time for the interim UFC lightweight championship, UFC 236, 2019. And now here we are, 2025, another crack 6 years later. Let's fight again. Let's see where we're at. And at every interim that they fight, every sort of time period, both boys go on and they achieve different things and evolve and come back and go through various things. But I want to know, this version of Max Holloway that we're going to see, do you think it will be impacted at all by the way that he lost to Ilia Topuria? Like, he got knocked out pretty badly. It feels like enough time for him to come back, recover, find himself again. But you never quite know, right? Like we saw with Volkanovski, he had a lot of back-to-back fights. Takes a second to recover sometimes from a bad knockout.
I worry about Max after that fight and then accumulatively everything he suffered in his career. But I think to your point, it'd be foolish to write him off here. I think it's wise to ask questions, and then and if we get unfortunate answers, then that kind of confirms at least some quiet suspicions. But I don't think it's wrong to have questions, and I don't think it's wrong to have suspicions. But I do think it's a little much to be like, well, he's going to show up like a shell of himself. I think just the fact that he's at 55 is going to give him a little bit more armor in general. I think that's pretty important. He's fought Dustin twice. It's not like he doesn't know what he's in for. Again, he's massively improved. I just feel like, for all the reasons why there might be some longer term issues that we have to confront, for the time being, the max we're going to get at UFC 318, 318, I think will be one of the better ones that we see. I don't think that Justin Gaethje performance at 300 was any kind of fluke. I really don't. And what I mean by that is everyone remembers the knockout, but before that, dude, Max was winning a pretty clear decision in my view. You could not find 3 rounds for Gaethje in that fight. You could find maybe 2 if you're squinting. You could not find 3. I mean, Max was really the better, clearly the better guy of the 2. And then he just viciously KO'd him at the end. I don't think that was aberrant. I don't think that was a mistake. I don't think that was, if they fought 10 times, I think you're going to get that 8 or 9 of them. You know, I mean, I think Max at 55 this time makes for a much more compelling contest.
It's fascinating too, because Dustin Poirier is like in the best shape of his life. When you watch him, he's like cart ready to go. Like he knows this is the biggest fight of his life. Just going back to your comments on that second fight, yeah, it was like a different world, right? Every time Poirier hit Max with his combinations, it was like brutal. You could see like Max would stumble back. He would be impacted by all of these significant shots that Dustin would throw. And then, like you said, like Max, more of a 145er, would land these combinations, but DP would basically walk through a lot of this and just come back with crazy combos that would just buckle Max over and over and over again. If you're Dustin Poirier here, though, and he's got a great team at American Top Team there with Mike Brown, they're anticipating that this is going to be a different version of Max Holloway that's going to be more adjusted for this weight class. What do you think Dustin Poirier might look to do different in this fight? Or do you think it's just going to be, all right, I'm going to pull up my shorts, I'm going to walk up here, and I'm just going to see what happens because this is my retirement fight, and I'm going out in a blaze of glory?
Without having done the appropriate tape study, I couldn't give you a whole lot of specifics, unfortunately. But I guess I would say this. I mean, if you beat the guy twice, it's on the other guy to make the more adjustments. Even if the first fight was however many years ago, 12 years ago, whatever it was, quite some time. It's on Max. Like Max has to make the adjustments. So what they have to consider is, okay, well, what adjustments might those be? And then how do we plan around that? But, I think Dustin needs to stick with what he's great at. He's a phenomenal boxer. He's a devastating puncher. He has to find his range, use his weapons. In particular, some of the kicking game I do think will be important as well. Some of the calf kicking game. A lot of that's going to be pretty significant, but it's not like I'm expecting Max to wrestle him. You know what I mean? And I'm not expecting Dustin to wrestle Max. Like it just doesn't, that's not the best way for either of them to win against virtually any opponent, including the other one. So it's not like you're going to get you might get a different fight in terms of its ebbs and flows, in terms of who's leading, who's receiving, who's dishing, right? That sense. I think you might get a little bit of difference. And again, some of the tactical differences and the very specific ways in which those are elicited are relevant. But, they slugged it out in the second fight. This is going to be a grappling match in the third. No, it's going to be another blood and guts in the pocket slugfest, which is why, again, I get the issue with that card is that it should be free. If that card was on free network TV, it changes your perspective of it completely. I mean, just do a little exercise. Like if that card is for free and you don't have to pay for it, you're like, oh, well, this is, sure, of course. Like it changes the whole conception of it. But I think at the main event, I really do believe you're going to get a crown jewel performance from both of those guys. They're not in any way going to go quietly. I think Max Holloway told Mike Bond this week that he doesn't want to go 0-6 in trilogies, right? Because he went 0-3 against Max and he's 0-2 against freaking Dustin. He's going to try and get one back here. And then, you think Dustin wants to go out on a loss in New Orleans in his retirement fight? I mean, that makes no sense at all, right? So you're going to get a lot of the second fight, but the question is, a sturdier Max, what does that do to change the equilibrium?
Imagine these guys have a battle and then Dustin Poirier jumps in a ghillie, finishes him off with the ghillie. Perfect way for him to finish out his career, right? That's the way to do it. Do you actually believe Dustin Poirier retires here? Because in MMA, retirements aren't really a real thing, right?
They're definitely not super real.
Because there's things going on in the division. I only say this because before there was nothing really for him with Islam already beating him, but now you got Ilia Topuria in the division. Who wouldn't pay to see a DP Ilia Topuria firefight? You know what I mean? And for Dustin, there's money there to be made, I suppose.
I think that you could there is a world where he returns, but let's just sort of like, if we had to do a bet, would you bet on him coming back or would you bet on him not? I bet on him not. I recognize that there is always a possibility, including a special one if the division somehow stagnates and DP is asked to come back and rescue it. That's a very real possibility. But he basically got everything out of MMA that he was going to get and then some. Like, his career went really well. Really well. It didn't go perfectly. He did not ever become a weight class champ, and he kind of stalled out there at the top when he tried. He did become an interim champ, and he might become a BMF champ, but he made a ton of money. He worked Conor McGregor like a summer job, and he got huge sponsorships from it. He turned into a philanthropist. He is financially secure, and, the older you get, man, time with your kids is limited. Time with your kids is precious. They grow up so fast. And I think he just wants to be a dad. I am going to bet that, it's always possible. And if it comes out, no one's going to be like, what? How did that happen? But I'm betting he stays, done.
WEC, UFC, 2 weight classes, multiple amazing fights. People need to go back in his record and just go through some of the fights that they missed, some of the newer fans. But broke Conor McGregor's leg, paid in full. What a legacy. If he walks away here with the BMF belt, is that it, Luke? Do we put this BMF belt thing to rest finally?
No, they need it. UFC needs it.
He's got to keep bringing it back. But technically, isn't Ilia the BMF champion?
Sort of.
Like,
well, not necessarily.
Weight class for a BMF. Is there?
Yeah, it's a little wishy-washy. They need another belt in rotation just to put at the top of these pay-per-views. They can't maintain, again, I'm going to say it again, they can't maintain their pay-per-view schedule. They don't. So you might say, hey, I don't need a belt on the top of every card, but the UFC doesn't believe that. They believe that they have to have one. They don't have enough of them in rotation at any given time to be able to just like, oh, we don't need the BMF belt. Like, it was once a joke, and now they're like, you know what, we could actually kind of use this thing. It's not the first time it's served as a headlining, or it's not the first time that it's been featured in a headlining bout in a UFC pay-per-view. Like, they need it. So yeah, even if Dustin takes it into retirement, they'll just put it in somewhere else for sure.
If Max Holloway wins I guess he is already the BMF champion, but I guess if he defends the belt, I don't know, this whole thing is silly. But let's say if he defends the belt, what would you like to see next for him? Obviously, like, Ilia's beaten him. I wouldn't want to see him fighting Ilia again anytime too soon. Paddy's in there, Armin's in there. Those guys are looking at title shots. So that's, I don't think, is going to be it. Justin Gaethje, I don't think he'll be rematching Max Holloway anytime soon.
Dude, Charles Oliveira.
Charles Oliveira, Dan Hooker, maybe one of those guys.
One of those guys. Charles Oliveira to me is the one that you go with. I mean, there's other ones you could do, but I like that one. I think both of. I mean, okay. Well, so also let's see what kind of damage Max takes and how he looks. But assuming he wins and it's not too bad, and it's a normal-ish kind of recovery. I love that fight. They already fought at featherweight, but that was when Charles Oliveira was in a very different place, and he had like a weird injury, and the fight got ended pretty quickly. And Max was on a rampage at that time too, but. It'd be a different fight this time, and it'd be a kind of an interesting one. And I think, Max, if he wins against Dustin and then you beat Charles, knocking on the door of a title shot. Now, you might say, well, who really wants to see that one? But if he goes in there, let's say he viciously KOs Dustin, and then let's say he viciously KOs Charles. These are ifs, but I'm positive, though, like, walk with me in this story for a moment. If you get there, I think I mean, it's so stupid to say, but it's so real. You are only as good as your last fight, and that can work against you, but it can also clearly work in your favor, even when it doesn't even make sense. Like, oh, you shouldn't get a title shot. Yeah, but look what he just did. Let's just fire him up to the front of the line. That happens all the time. So let's just see what kind of thing we get. But I think that him versus Charles solves a lot of problems.
It's kind of cool, actually, because Charles, Dan Hooker, like these guys, they are kind of like the BMFs of the division. So it's kind of fun for those guys to have their own side division. As we wrap up, I just want to bring up morningcombat.shop. And for those people that missed out on it, some new drops this month. Have a look at this bad boy.
Indeed.
Look at this. 3 Margaritas t-shirt, the Technical Thriller. Got some cool posters. Oh, man, they're already sold out. There you go.
Yeah, and the signed ones are sold out, too. So what we're doing is, we might bring some of these designs back, but we're putting them out for the month. And so when the month is over, that's it for at least a little while,
Yeah, I like it. You guys are splitting the revenue between yourselves. Figure out a way to make it all happen. Look at this. Some stuff available now. Love the Punch Out t-shirt. Of course, the 3 margaritas, pint glass is a must-have. So it's going to be a big ATM bill for me at the end of the day today when I go on the website. Jump on right now. Make sure you do that. And, of course, the Substack is the place to go. Luke, as we go into UFC 318, there'll be the live watch-along on your channel. Of course, Morning Combat, the pregame, all the good stuff. What else is coming up that you want people to know about and need to look out for?
I did a interview on Substack with an economist who predicted the 2008 crash. We talk about some interesting domestic legislation here and the economic impact for those who care about that sort of thing. I don't imagine that there are too many people. That's okay. You don't have to. But if you do, we're going to have that up. Well, I mean, I don't know when this interview is going out, but we're going to have that up tomorrow as of the moment of this conversation.
Awesome. All right, guys, check that out. Subscribe. All the links in the description below. Luke Thomas, crazy time in MMA, but you make everything feel so sane. I appreciate it.
I do my best. Thanks for having me.